here, I recorded or hit start recording. You can also record to
Okay.
cloud if you'd like. Cool, so we're unable to access YouTube Live, so we are just going to be recording and then posting today. Cool. Joe, could you also promote everyone to co-host?
You got it.
Thank you. So in today's meeting, we have a few agenda items, but let's get to initiative updates first. Anyone have specific updates they'd like to share on initiative work?
I mean, I guess I can talk about mentorship, if that's what we're talking about.
Awesome.
Sure. Yeah. So these last 2 weeks have been pretty big for mentorship because we got our first new onboarding through the whole process. So we've gone through the call for applications, got a whole bunch of applications. I think we got, was it 30? Somewhere between 20 and 30. Set up criteria for how we wanted to evaluate them. Then as a team, we went through, basically cut down to the short list based on who qualified or didn't, right? So one of our big criteria for this one was communication. And so during the application, they had a lot of opportunities to write a lot and just show off that they could articulate about themselves, and other more, I guess, hard cutoff one that was, could they set up a GitHub repo? Could they create an issue? Could they create a pull request that closed that issue? Things like that. So we went through the list first and did a filter pass. And so anyone who couldn't set up the repo or gave like a one line answer or something to our questions. And then from there we had the short list, and then we sort of ranked them and ultimately came up with our decision. So we have, we're going to be talking to our new team member tomorrow at our first meeting since the decision, which is pretty awesome. It's Adamola Sobaki. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name correctly yet. They're from West Africa, I think, which is pretty cool. Anyways, very promising to go through one iteration. And so then we'll be getting them up to speed and then ideally working with the examples team, which is pretty exciting.
Awesome. Cool. Any other?
I have a quick update. So we had for the website redesign team, we are switching to bi-weekly meetings now instead of bi-weekly. We did give out a poll to our group of people, like the developers who come to our meetings. The poll is done. We have two options, either Thursday at 4 p.m. or Friday at the afternoon at 12. So we are going to be discussing that in our meeting next week just to get the final time and date. But it's exciting because we wanted to go ahead and really push for weekly meetings to get a lot of the issues and features done. So yeah, so that's just a quick update.
Awesome. Any other updates from website or others?
Can I ask, when you say bi-weekly, what do you mean? And is it twice a week or twice a month?
Bi-weekly is twice a month. Sorry, my bad. It means twice a month. So it's every other week instead of every week. And we wanted to switch to every week.
Awesome.
Oh, so are you switching to every other week or from every other week?
From every other week to weekly.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yep.
Any other updates from initiatives? I'll just give one from examples real quick. I've not had a bunch of time to actually spend on shipping examples. I have been mostly focusing my effort on trying to get folks to submit their examples and lowering that barrier rather than doing the shouldering the work myself. So, you know, I've spent time with a couple people in the project who either maintain a different project who could potentially create an example, or who work at a provider that, you know, would be interested in shipping an example for that provider. Like they're an SME for, subject matter expert for like a different thing, like a paid service, which is include like in the scope of examples. So been trying to do that, and just kind of following up with them to make sure, you know, it's potentially helpful to get that in, and haven't made that progress on actually getting those PRs in, but moving toward that, so that's good. Yeah. Any other updates? Last call.
I'll just add this initiative moved from Node up to the OpenJS Foundation, but I'm happy to say that user feedback has a user feedback survey request from the Node.js project regarding unhandled promises. So that's kind of cool. Share that bit. And then if there are no other initiative updates, I can give a CPC update if that's cool. Great. So I'm actually not really prepared, so I'm trying to think of what we've been talking about. One thing I was just looking at is this cross-project council chair election. I'm going to write up my experience this week, open up nominations next week, and then the week after that will be elections. Been furthering work on code of conduct processes as we are considering how we handle you know, any like escalation issues at the foundation being kind of a level above the projects. Should we be managing escalations? How would we handle them? And those sorts of questions are things that we're working out. And I believe that we've gotten all the processes worked out that we're blocking. Well, I mean, I guess this is kind of blocking onboarding, but or is related to onboarding at least. But we want to focus on the first issues that would unblock onboarding, because we have a couple of projects, a few projects that are in that stage. What else are we working on? Michael's been kind of advancing the collaboration network, which is a way to have like cross-project efforts happening, like around security or internationalization or any other things that would be would help a variety of projects. What else? Kind of just thinking off the top of my head, but I can't remember anything else that seemed important. And I don't have Michael to back me up, but Tierney, do you remember anything else that is worth raising?
Not off the top of my head, no.
I guess the one other thing I'll mention is that we're still working out what this board seat will look like. For the first year, it was a Node.js community board seat. We, the ComCom and folks on the TSC did not have an objection to that becoming more of an open community seat to any member of any project. We're still working out the details of that from the cross-project council. And you know, hopefully we'll have more progress there. And the good news is that, you know, Node is very active, so it very likely could be another person from the Node project. But you know, we'll see how that all kind of works out.
Cool. Also, it has been a while since I have updated ComCom on moderation, so I just want to do that real quick. The log item, it has a typo and it makes me laugh. Blocked a user for posting spam, which spam. We blocked 2 users for blocking spam, so another one, and also deleted their issue. We helped moderate an issue where the Node.js dist directory on the website was serving 500 errors. And kind of helped manage that across 3 different repos. So that was something that we were actively doing and did spend some time on. a collaborator or TSC member banned an obviously bad faith user filing obnoxious, insulting, offensive issues that we ended up redacting. We blocked a possible bot for posting meaningless content that didn't make sense, and then unblocked them. So just for context, most, if not all of these are logged in moderation issues. So if you do want to audit that, feel free to go to the moderation repo. I think the exception there is there wasn't an issue for the 500 errors that was reactionary as it was happening. So we can be done with that now. Cool. Time to move on to agenda items then. So, or sorry, one last call. Any further updates? Cool. We can move on to agenda items. I have apparently navigated away from that page, so give me one moment. Cool. Okay. So the first agenda item we have is audit Google account access. This is a normal thing that we're supposed to do often, or well, every year or so. This is a year-old issue. I think we did a bit, but this is currently undergoing, so I would consider this more as a heads up. But it does look like there's a proposal from Brian Warner 21 days ago, which I'm surprised. Oh, I guess I wasn't in the last TSC or Compound meeting, which makes sense. Joe.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Was there any -1s to auditing that, or any -1s that needed to be vocalized to Brian?
I'm sorry, I thought I might have lost you there for a second. I'm catching up here.
Yeah, no worries. This is admin issue 389. Brian Warner proposed a process for auditing Google accounts. It seems relatively reasonable to me.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think that there were any objections at all.
Cool.
And it seemed reasonable to me too.
Cool, and it looks like that has moved on. And I believe Brian also mentioned this in the OpenJS Foundation meeting, CPC meeting. So I think this is progressing. And I guess this is serving it more as a heads up right now. I don't know if we still need the agenda on this. But I'm any opposition to taking off, or any -1s to taking off the agenda item for now? Because it doesn't seem like there's anything to update here.
No, I'm okay with that.
Cool. I'm not hearing any -1s, so I will go ahead and remove that.
Can I ask just perhaps a related question? Are there changes happening in the way that we do some of these things? And when I say these things, I'm thinking about the calendars and the meeting generation and agenda generation kind of process.
The question was, are there changes that need to be done?
No, are there changes that are happening? Like like from the package maintenance work, like a meeting kind of bot and things like that. Are there changes happening overall?
So I think changes is probably a strong word. It's status quo right now. The thing that's happening is package. So I started independently working on a tool, and Wes Todd started independently working on a tool that were both GitHub Actions based, that are basically meeting generation tools. So like they kind of serve or act, mimic a replacement for the tool that Michael's built. That's purely run from GitHub Actions, so we wouldn't have to maintain. We'd maintain a YAML file and then our templates in our repo, rather than in the centralized one that Michael has. I believe that's the create meeting notes or something, create meeting items or something like that in the Node org. I'm kind of currently stalled. Like I am very much intent on working that. I'm currently stalled on some of the DX bits. the way it's set up, I can't really test a PR. Like I can't test if it works or not because of how the release tooling is set up. Basically, with GitHub Actions, you have to include node modules, and part of the release process is to bundle node modules in the release, which doesn't work for PRs. So it's kind of like at a catch-22, and I'm mostly waiting right now for a fix on that. I've not seen any progress on that recently, so TBD. It's currently, going forward as normal, but that is something that does exist in the PKG.js GitHub org. It's the repo is called Neat, so PKG.js /Neat. That would help with that. And if folks want to contribute to that, please do. You're more than welcome to. One of the things I'm doing on that are just reducing the JavaScriptiness of it and making it more user friendly for just writing Markdown and text. So.
Cool. Yeah, thank you for that update.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of another update that perhaps is an initiative that you may have, Tierney. Any updates on like the social team stuff?
Yeah. I mean, so the current status of that is that it's been accepted. It's similar to moderation. It's an admin group. I don't know if that's the real term for it, but that's the one I can think of. It's currently an admin group in basically managed the same way as the moderation team. You have to have unanimous approval from ComCom and TSC with no -1s, no indirect -1s to get into it, just because of like how high impact it is, the platform that the project has. So I have gone through that process now, and I am the only member. So yeah, definitely feel free to take a look at that. I've been managing, except for one tweet that was not unscheduled. I've been managing the Node.js Twitter for the last week or so, and then also LinkedIn and Facebook.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, I totally spaced on that in the updates section.
Yeah, no worries.
Cool. I think we're probably done with the audit Google account access. Any other comments, questions, thoughts, feedback on that one? Cool. That is removed from the agenda now. Rejoining ComCom. So this is an issue from Rachel White. She is a former ComCom member, former chairperson, and former co-chairperson of the ComCom. Did a bunch of work for ComCom and is requesting to rejoin. So I'm going to ask ComCom members now. I believe we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cool. We do have quorum. Is there any objection to this? And this is a vote. So I guess I should not say objection. I'm going to do a vote, I guess. I don't know. This is like, I don't think the way vote is defined here is the way we've typically done the votes. I guess, yeah, feel free to put your objections in the chat if you have an objection. Otherwise, we can presume there is no objection.
I'm good with that, presuming there is no objection.
Yeah. This is like a weird one of our earlier things of adopting language that does not necessarily follow exactly how we practice, which is something that we should probably update. Okay, cool. I'm not seeing any objections in the chat. I am going to presume accepted, and I am going to merge this. We also have +1s from other people who thumbs up. So yeah, we should be good here. I'm going to merge this. I'm just leaving a comment real quick. And I have merged that. So we should be good now. I will I will take the steps necessary after this meeting to onboard Rachel again. Awesome. Next agenda item is update scope of Node.js Collection 608 or issue 608. I have not. I hope I didn't have any to-dos on this, Waleed. Do you want to talk about this, Waleed?
Yes, I'm here. Just give me a second.
Yep, no worries. No worries.
So yeah, this is about that we stop maintaining the Node.js collection for public submissions and only use it for the internal submissions from the for the like when we release a new version or when there's maybe a submission from collaborators. After that, we need to decide what we do about the initiative itself and the repo itself. Do we keep the repo? Do we archive it? Or we also keep the initiative alive, or we just like stop it and Node.js and the ComCom members or the TSC members can keep approving the submissions to the Node.js collection blog. They like people will review it as they do now, but there will be no repository or initiative itself.
Cool. So my assumption is that we should probably try to get some folks' eyes on this and review it and give their feedback. So if everyone could take some time after the meeting to go ahead and do that, that would be excellent and super appreciated. Yeah, does that sound about right, Waleed?
That sounds right. We can wait for everyone to review and see if they have maybe better options or any.
Cool. Sounds good. Any comments, thoughts, feedback, concerns, questions? Okay. We can, that's a good heads up issue and one we can move forward on. So awesome. The next agenda item is update README with new process. I believe this is referring to the previous one and can potentially be skipped. Is that correct, Waleed?
The next one can be skipped. We can even take it off from the agenda.
Cool. I have done that. Cool. I will go back. Nodejs.dev. So the final agenda item is Nodejs.dev, marketing text for homepage. I believe this is just asking for input on this. Or is this a holdover from a previous meeting? Yeah, this is it. Does this still need to be on the CC agenda website redesign, folks? If you're speaking, you're muted for what it's worth. Okay, cool. I will take no response as an affirmative that it does not.
Sorry,
because it does.
Sorry, someone was going to speak, but basically we need we have some doubts about what we should supposed to do with the landing page on the home page. It's basically to have the proper setup, so the proper info. I think everyone agree with what you posted there with JavaScript, open source, and everywhere. I think we just need confirmation, and I don't know, just hammer this. Okay. I don't know.
Gotcha. That makes sense. In that case, so you're just looking specifically for those three sections.
Yeah, for this issue particularly, I think it is. But since we're talking about marketing test for homepage, my guess is that we could also review the entire homepage. You know, if there is something that you wanna remove or add, I think this is the proper issue to deal with all the changes that you want on the homepage. I'm going to post here the Figma, so if anyone want to know what's the homepage look like.
Yeah.
And I already posted the staging homepage that we currently have right now. This is the staging. Let me see one thing. And the production homepage is this one. So yeah, any feedbacks is most appreciated.
Cool. I think, so one of the things I know we did early on was we kind of like took a look at a lot of what other projects were doing and kind of mimicked that, I guess, as the kind of basis for what we were going to try to do, given that we now don't necessarily have we do have some time, right? Yeah, we have some time, so I don't feel too bad taking some time to talk about this. Is everyone else okay with us spending some time to talk about this and like kind of share ComCom point of views on this and like give some feedback? And also, is that welcome from the website redesign folks?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think that should be fine. I think that should be fine.
Cool. So yeah, also, this is the last issue. If folks need to drop, please feel free to. Since it seems like we maybe have some time to focus on this, I think providing some feedback would potentially be helpful. One of the things that we did early on was go and kind of look at what other websites do. The email thing, we don't really have an email thing, but maybe perhaps driving people to the OpenJS Foundation Slack and the Node.js channels there could be a replacement for that. Of like, instead of sign up with your email, it's go to the Slack. I am sure people are going to very strongly disagree with me that that's something we should do. So take that with a grain of salt. For context, that's a discussion that we've had for years that has always ended badly. So be cautious pushing that. And then for the bottom section of like who's using it, right now we have companies there in the staging site that we don't have in the production site because we don't necessarily have licensing for those logos. But perhaps a different way to frame that is if we can go to projects that people use, so like Babel or Webpack or others, and follow their branding guidelines and get permission from them, like get the +1 that it's okay to use their stuff. Used by all of these things that you already know is a good social proof in the same way that all of these companies that you already know is a good social proof. So that's potentially an additional thing there to kind of get more content in there.
Tierney, sorry,
Yep.
Just one question. When you say get +1 from Babel and Webpack, you mean to use Babel and Webpack logos or to use the logos? Okay, so use their logos.
Yep, use their logos. Yep. And then additionally, perhaps, I don't think we're here yet, but perhaps I kind of wish we had our release notes as a JSON feed. And I think we're very far out from that. But including release notes or the most recent blog posts on the blog, which are generally release notes, would potentially be a nice addition there. I don't want to necessarily overcomplicate and just keep cramming stuff in, but having places to go from the website or from the root page that aren't just in the header navigation, but kind of giving people places to reach out to, I think would be a potentially positive thing. Anyone else have feedback or thoughts on this?
Just one question. What do you mean by that? I'm sorry. When you mean reach out, like Slack, what?
So sorry, more like where to go from the homepage. Like if you're from, in a marketing context, a homepage basically ends up leading you to all of the things you could possibly need, and it has some top of funnel thing where it's like, for us, it's install this thing, install Node.
Okay.
But it also has like what this thing is and how to learn more, and multiple avenues to get to all of those things. And right now, like the current staging site, because we did have to chop it down a bit, is download and then the what is it. which like I think we could probably hopefully find some ways to kind of move into a path where we have additional kind of those branching paths to get people to places that they want.
I mean, I think the core things that we need at least are what are on the existing website, right?
Which I think we have.
Yeah, like, you know, it's
I
not,
could be wrong.
It's home, about, which has a whole bunch of stuff about the Node.js project downloads, links to the docs, get involved, security, and then news.
And I guess what I specifically was talking about there was the homepage itself. So not necessarily the navigation links, although it does seem like we don't necessarily have a blog or news link. I'm trying to pull up. Yeah,
There's a news tab there.
Yeah, so I was looking at the redesign. It doesn't look like that's
right,
in
okay,
the headings. But yeah, like figuring out that stuff, and I know we're trying to move slowly with this and get things right one at a time. So like getting the homepage done and then moving on to something else, I think is a reasonable thing. So yeah, and then, you know, the marketing copy, I'm happy to help write some stuff for that and, you know, pass that along to other folks and see what they think. And like the homepage right now does actually have more content than the current Node homepage. Like you might have joined after they shared the links, Michael. Sorry. Here's the links we're referring to. I realized you didn't have that. There's the various links. There's 3 links there. So yeah.
Do I have to sign in? Maybe just the first
it takes a while to load. Yeah, the Figma specifically takes a while to load, but then the staging site is like the temporary or like, you know, where work is being done kind of.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so I sorry, go ahead, Michael.
I know, thanks for the links.
Yeah. I guess, do others have thoughts or comments or anything on this?
Yeah, I do have one question. Not as such a thought, but more of a question. So I'm actually working on the community page for the website redesign, like the community forum page that we have right now. And you know, the points you bring up are valid points. So would it be more beneficial, like if like for the next website redesign meeting, there is just because like we did not have any discussion about like as such about, it's more about features rather than like, you know, going through and checking out with the design and all that stuff. So I think that if we do have a discussion of that sort, I think it would be beneficial, because I as such don't want to finish the page and then be like, oh, we need to make all these other changes, which would reflect a lot more. So because I've gotten it set up, but I haven't actually added the content. Like I got the sidebar and then the main page. That's all I've done so far, because I was still like working with other issues as well. But I think that the point you bring up is very good, because we have so many people working. Like the problem I feel, not the problem, but the thing is happening right now is that we are getting more issues and features fixed than actually figuring out what actually needs to be, you know, done, and what is the thing that we want in place. And so in the past we have had a lot of code mix-ups and, you know, going back and forth. And so I feel that it would be beneficial for the website redesign team if you could actually attend next time and we have this conversation, because last meeting we didn't, and all we discussed was you know, about rescheduling and just fixes that we did. That's the only reason why.
Yeah, I'm happy to participate, to come in and participate in that way. And I could probably do that pretty consistently. Like I can make the effort to start coming to this. I guess, you know, you brought up the community page, and there's not like really a heading entry for that right now. And I think potentially, you know, based on the information architecture work we did, like that massive amount of work we did, potentially at least scaffolding out the navigation for what we're going to have and having that there. So like the designs there, but just having like the community page and the blog or news page or whatever we're going to call it. I think blog is probably more accurate at this point, because like we do have content that's not necessarily news there. But going through and doing that would potentially also help, because like the community page, I'm sure will have a bunch of content that we can point to from the homepage, and like have a community section on the homepage, and like kind of get people out into that part of the site as well, rather than just the base, you know, download Node and what is Node.
Okay.
Also, I'll add all those ideas that we are having here in the, I'll add in the issue, so we have a point of discussion for the next meeting. So yeah, that will be almost really cool. Thanks, Terry.
Yeah, of course.
One other thing I just came to my mind. Do you think if we want to get more user engagement, would it be beneficial to include some stuff from like Node School or something like that, like a get started guide, or like somewhere people can actually go and, you know, learn a bit more about Node and do things? Like I know we have meetups and stuff related to that, but in circumstances like these, people can't really meet or get that mentorship, but at least they can, you know, take advantage of this tool that's out there to get started and learn a bit more about Node and all the other things that we can do with it.
I think reaching out to Node School and working, like, you know, I am a Node School chapter lead for New York, and you know, the maintainers of Node School themselves are all, you know, relatively close in the ecosystem and the project even. So I, you know, working with them like closely to make sure that like, one, the content is something that actually is something that's good for remote. Like I personally had a relatively bad experience trying to use Node School on my own, you know, when I was learning Node. But like validating that and going through and making sure and finding things that we can do together, I think is positive. And I think that will take work. And I would recommend, at least for shipping this, that we leave that to a separate scope, that like once we're done, that's another thing. Website, like once we are kind of completed with the design and the content, and you know, we're basically ready to push this into production and do push it into production, that is when website redesign should go out and say like, hey, we should probably reach out before this. Like we shouldn't launch everything and say, hey, we're going to do this. But like the time to kind of maybe work on that would be later. At least that would be how I would approach it. And others could definitely think I'm wrong. So
I'm like, it's okay to work on all sorts of things in parallel, but you want to minimize your MVP.
Yeah.
Like if you want to turn it on and replace the old one, it's like, what's the minimum that you need to put in place to do that?
Yeah. And you know, in that vein, I think, you know, we do have examples to some extent, although, you know, completely admittedly, it's relatively empty right now. And then we do also have like other community sites that like, we have our benchmarking site and our metrics and benchmarking, which I don't know if benchmarking is still up, Michael. But
we're planning, I mean, we're dechartering the benchmarking working group, but there was some interest in keeping some of that going. It's still up, I think, as far as today. We haven't turned it off yet.
So like having a path to including those things, which is something I brought up throughout the website redesign process. But
yeah, like code coverage is definitely still there. So
yeah, and like I think one goal, like in line with that kind of, is ensuring that code coverage is embedded in the site and like native to the site, if that makes sense. So yeah, like things like
more
that,
easily discoverable or something like that.
Right, discoverable, and like uses the same kind of setup and everything. So yeah, I think that's a super important thing for the community site. And so like that would be like what I would prioritize in an MVP over Node School right now. And that's not to say don't include Node School, because I think, you know, Node School does fantastic stuff for our ecosystem. But those are the things I would prioritize. And that's just that's just my point of view.
I think that's great feedback, and you know, that does bring new light. And I think thank you also, Joe, for chiming in. And I think I think those points could be overseen a lot of times, but I think those are relatively good and important points to bring up.
Good. Do we have anything else we want to talk about on this? Cool. If not, I think we can probably go ahead and end it. So thanks everyone for coming today. And we will see you next week, or not next week, God, 2 weeks from now for another ComCom meeting. Enjoy.
Cool. Cheers.
Thanks. Bye.
Cheers. Thank you.